fantastic husband I am. Oh, I made apple crisp.
What? I can never hear. It's too low now. Lyndon,
Troy.
we just recorded literally a second ago. And I'm adjusting this microphone.
A whole parsecond ago, maybe. We all know that's a unit of distance.
12 parsecs.
Star Wars.
We just recorded an episode. Just wanted to look. I don't know, the setup is not optimal.
This is a suboptimal set. What's going on? Tell the people at home.
So with the desk is turned around and everything that's happening and on the desk is behind me. Mm-hmm. And I usually have like a desk in front of me, and now I have a notebook in my hands, like a plebeian, like some sort of fool.
You're just holding it with your bare hands.
Some sort of proletariat, second class, third class citizen I'm poor, Lyndon. I'm like a poor man without a desk.
How the tables have turned.
The table has literally turned.
When you're like, Lyndon, hold the mic in your hand.
Yeah.
For the next hour.
Because I didn't want to be bothered to even walk to my closet where I keep everything and get it out and set it up.
Now the first thing you're complaining about is holding something by hand.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to hold things, Lyndon.
I told you that 3 minutes ago.
And what did I do? What did I immediately... The second... See, I was testing you. I was testing you to see if you would just be willing to do it. And if you were, I was just going to let it happen. But good for you for pushing back on me.
Where I was like, no.
I was like, fine, I'll do the bare minimum.
And I was like, you need to get a mic stand for yourself anyway.
Yeah, and that because I was like, I was going to hold it for myself. I don't even know why I need this book, really. I guess... do
you have all your notes written down
I have
there?
0 notes written down. This is a special episode.
Yeah, this is a breaking news episode.
This is a breaking news episode. I feel like I need to fix your mic. It's blowing right into it.
What's wrong with my mic?
I think it should be fine. If you... you just look uncomfortable. Like, you just look like you're...
I'm not my usual lounging position.
Why don't
I
you
can
just
get loungy.
Vamp for a minute, and I'm going to fix the mic.
Hey, ho, hey, everyone. Lyndon coming at ya. Oh, yeah, this is... Oh, now I'm comfortable. Now I'm feeling great. So, yeah. This is our secret special bonus Christmas episode.
It's a bonus Christmas
Merry
episode.
Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
You thought the last episode was the Christmas episode where
Wrong.
we never talked about Christmas.
Yeah, this one's the one, except it isn't. This is like a special news report. We're basically news reporters.
Journalists.
We're basically journalists. We have, because this is how every journalist thing starts, with the two journalists just vamping for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they just want to tease people out. It's like, this is what it's going to be about. Well, I'm committed to naming the episode 100 billion, just written out in digits.
100 Billy.
100 Billy.
100 Billie Eilishes.
100 Bill. And what does that refer to, Lyndon? What is 100 billion?
100 billion? Uh-huh. Why, that's just the liquid assets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as revealed by the Washington Post.
100 billion. Should we... So here's the story as I understand it. Mm-hmm. The situation, the structure of the church is financial arm. So this... What's it called? It's called Ensign's Peak.
It's EPA. It's like Ensign Partners Advisory or something.
Something like that.
It's Ensign, and then the P stands for something, and the A stands for advisors.
It's a wholly owned subsidiary of the Church of Jesus
Integrated
Christ.
Auxiliary.
Wholly owned subsidiary. Yeah, I guess that's more of a corporate term, but isn't that the whole theme of the podcast or the of the problem here.
Right.
It's what do they call it? Something auxiliary.
An integrated auxiliary.
So, but it's not. Okay, so that's a weird meaning term. Basically, it means it's a wholly owned subsidiary of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It handles all of the investing activities for the church.
Well,
and
not all of them, just most of them. That's right, Troy. There's other funds too.
Oh, so the church. This is just top of the dome. Maybe we'll go through this and then we'll talk about how we feel about it and the implications. How does that sound?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not a lot, but a few angles you got to tackle.
Right. So the facts are that the church brings in, according to this article, and these are all based off of documents that I think have been readily just given by EPA. Is it EPA?
No. So, well, let's get right down to it.
Okay.
Did you watch the video I sent you?
I did, yeah.
So that was Lars Nielsen.
Who's that?
He is the brother. I don't even. It's Daniel or David.
Jared? No jokes this episode. Okay.
Okay. I don't know what are you getting at?
I don't know.
So Daniel or David, whatever Nielsen, worked at this EPA.
Okay.
Excuse me. And he became disgruntled. So
he's the guy himself.
So he's the one that made the complaint to the IRS, the 74-page document that he sent to the IRS to be like, these guys shouldn't be tax exempt.
And he worked for them.
Yes.
So that's how he got all these documents.
Yeah,
he stole it.
That's how he has all the information.
So we're dealing with a thief right now.
Yeah, I know.
This guy's a friggin' thief.
He never wanted to go to the media. He just wanted to make his complaint because he had his brother Lars help him write it.
Yeah.
And his brother Lars is the one who made the YouTube video. Right. He's the one that went to the Washington Post.
I see.
Because as you know, if you... share a little footrest here.
No, we both get a footrest.
If you're a whistleblower on some people that have been avoiding taxes... You get a cut of the recovered taxes.
Yeah, get a slice.
So it's estimated that if Ensign had to pay taxes, they'd have to pay about $20 billion in taxes.
Right.
Which Daniel would get a cut of and then retire. I don't even know if it's 1-2%. Either way, he's set.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll get to that later.
What is 1% of 1 billion? What is that, a million?
100 million? 10 million? You got a finance degree.
Hold on. Let's
see. This
do
is
some math. Hold on.
You have a finance degree. I have an economics degree. We should be able to figure this out.
Those are our qualifications.
We have 20. I have to turn my phone sideways to make 20 billion here.
I'm going to do it on paper. I am the graduate, 2016, summa cum laude. I don't know what that means, but
let's say
from the University of Calgary, Bachelor of Commerce, major in finance.
Oh shoot.
0.01 times 20.
Yeah, do it on paper. I'm putting my phone away.
All right. I'm just going to write out 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's billion. And then 1%, 10%. Dude, 10%?
Well, it's probably like a 1 or 2% cut is what the IRS would do. Estimated $20 billion in recoverable taxes.
So hold on. So if we move this here,
10% would be $2 billion.
Yeah, 10% is $2 billion. So what's 10% of $2 billion? I don't know what I'm doing.
200 million.
200 mil. These guys have a lot of incentive to blow the whistle, basically. Because how much do you think they were getting paid? How much were the guys running EPA getting paid?
Probably industry standard salary.
Industry standards is crazy. They're getting a cut. Probably.
Well, you got to remember, these guys aren't actively. They're basically they're not hedge fund managers. Though they could
kind of. They totally are.
No. Did you look at the breakdown? So it's like $100 billion.
Private equity. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That little thing.
It's stocks, mutual. It's all the low risk stuff.
Sort of, but look, when I heard that private equity thing, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, there's like a lot of private equity. I was like, who's private equity?
What are these guys like going around, getting pitched by all the young, VCs? They're going to, that's kind of risky.
Well, it wasn't a big chunk of it. But anyway.
That's the thing. Anything to do, we need to put into scale just how much $100 billion is. I think it was in the article where it talked about it ranked like all the richest hedge funds.
So Bridgewater is the largest hedge fund in the world, and it's $160 billion. Microsoft Corporation's liquid assets is like $130 billion.
Yeah.
So we got Microsoft money.
Yeah. Well, we don't.
Well, we're members of the church.
Yeah.
So it's like no, we don't.
We'll get to that later.
It's
a lot of money. It's among the top in the world for just privately held liquid funds.
Yeah.
Readily available to spend cash and cash equivalents, which are bonds. Do people know what bonds are? Bonds are they're like a very safe, long-term investment. Very safe, pretty much guaranteed most of the time.
Not Greek bonds. Greek bonds are pretty risky.
Right. So the higher the yield, so like a yield is like an interest rate, which is money you get back from. Because what you're doing is you're lending money out to.
Like often the opportunity cost of lending money is the Canadian bond rate.
Right.
Because it's like, if we're going to lend you money, you have to pay the opportunity cost, because we could just be buying bonds with this because that's guaranteed interest.
Yeah. So those are bonds. And then stocks are another big component of the 100 billion. Stocks are
mostly American stocks.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of international.
I mean, another thing to think about is who are they investing in, and what sort of implications sort of go along with that.
Well, it's funny because just twice in both of my family group chats, I joked about the church just owning Coca-Cola stocks.
Yeah.
And, I joke about that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's true.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure it is. I'm sure they own a chunk of Apple. I don't know what that breakdown is, but I assume it's a lot of blue chip stuff.
But we gotta keep backing up to the origins of this. So this guy is complaining to the IRS saying that this fund was started in 1997 with $12 billion, and for the last, 22 years?
Yeah.
22 years, it's grown to $100 billion. And then you say, Troy, how does $12 billion become $100 billion?
How does it?
Let me tell you how.
Okay.
Because it's made of all our tithing.
Not all of our tithing, but it's a good seed.
Yeah.
They're getting good seed money every single year.
Yeah. So, that's how the 12 billion came from. So right now, the church collects about $7 billion in tithing, which for some people are like, oh my gosh, that's wild. But it's that's actually only, my quick maths was it's $1,000 for every active member of the church.
It's still a crazy amount of money, though.
Mm-hmm.
And then how much does the...
And then, so the operational budget is $5 to $6 billion a year.
Mm-hmm.
So they pay for everything they got to pay for with tithing.
Yeah.
Then there tends to be about $1 billion left over. And so that $1 billion just goes straight into this enzyme fund.
Yeah.
And then the reason it's a big deal now is the historical returns on that fund is about 7%. So that's very low risk kind of 7%. But if you have $100 billion and you're getting a 7% return, what's that every year?
$7 billion.
Which could completely replace all of our tithing.
We don't have to pay tithing anymore.
We don't.
And I guess that's sort of been a thing that everyone has thought for a long time, I'm sure, but now I guess it's confirmed. They just don't need our tithing at all. We're just contributing to
a war chest.
A war chest
for the second coming.
But like when the second coming comes, what's money gonna be for?
You've seen Rick and Morty, where it's like, hey, we need to do this to this, and he's like, who's gonna pay me to do that?
Yeah, that's right.
When they devalue the currency,
and the society falls apart, and it's like, we need to get this thing sorted out right away. Absolutely.
They're like, get the president on the horn
for money.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'll go do that for money, and they just don't have any money. So yeah, don't be.
Is it going to be a Wild West?
Foolish and childish to think that the millennium won't cost money.
Everyone's going to be greasing their palms in the millennium.
Or like Armageddon. They said Armageddon right before the second coming might cost money. That's why I keep saying, I was like, we could buy an aircraft carrier. I looked it up.
Yeah.
$13 billion for an aircraft carrier.
That's one thing.
Deseret Nation would love it.
That's one thing. A segment we wanted to maybe do is like, what can you buy with $100 billion? What could the church possibly buy? A list of the things. Let's break down first, though. So there's the $1 billion a year for the last. I guess we're just talking about from 1997 onward, but that's still a good chunk of time. $1 billion in surplus has been going into this fund, and over the years it has grown to this point where it's $100 billion. And it consists of the stocks, which is little pieces of ownership of a company, bonds, which we talked about, private equity. Now, this one is interesting to me because private equity is basically when one person invests their own personal money into another company. Usually it's like a smaller private company, not a publicly held company. So, and a lot of the time...
It was what was it? I can't remember the number 12. I don't know. That could be like their foreign investments.
Right.
But if it was it was billions of dollars. I don't know if it was in the double digits.
It was billions that they're doing private
everything,
equity.
Yeah. Everything is billions now.
And so when you think about private equity, I don't know if, so like you think about like Facebook or like these tech companies, a lot of the beginning stages of those companies came from private equity. Mm-hmm. So like, what are the company? And a lot of the times there's like the thing with private equity and that strategy for a lot of these venture capitalists who do this, it's that you invest in a number of different companies. One of them pops big and it pays for all the losses that you incurred investing in all these other loser companies that basically have taken the money and died with it.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about it too much.
I don't know if that's what they're doing, but that, like, just when I see the private equity, I'm just like, that's sort of the game of private equity.
Yeah.
Is you're hoping to get a winner.
Or it's like,
or it's mom and pop businesses in Utah.
Or it's, it's all the general authorities businesses.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, why aren't they privately investing in our podcast?
Yeah, we should get some of that EPA money. Another thing we need to talk about at some point is the mall, the City Creek Mall.
Well, that's, it's coming to that because, the guy makes an IRS complaint. Mm-hmm. And then the church the next day comes out with a statement from from the first presidency.
Yeah.
And they're just like, we have broken no laws.
Yeah. We abide by all the rules.
It's like, we're keeping the rules, and we like to save up some money. Is that such a crime? And everyone is like, no. And so, like, yeah.
Such a crime.
So, yeah, I read, like, a Forbes article where they're just like, yeah, like, they're like, the IRS complaint is 100% drama. Because it's like, the IRS is not even going to, like, they don't care.
You don't think so?
Well, like, there was one tax analyst that was just like, these are serious allegations. But it's like the fact that they have $100 billion of money that they haven't touched, which is where we start to get into the sticky situation.
Yeah.
And that they're saving for the Armageddon, or the IRS is like, this isn't a not-for-profit charitable organization where they have like standards. It's 5%. You have to spend 5% of your assets on charitable work. With a church, religion, you have to spend your assets on education, humanitarian aid, church expenses, blah, blah, blah. But there's no number. So if they just want to hold on to it, never pay taxes on it, the IRS is like, great. So the drama might be that maybe someone in Congress is like, maybe we should change the rules about tax exempt status for churches. But like they're not breaking any rules, except those two serious allegations.
Yes. One of them being, I think it was $1.5 billion of, I think it was specifically tithe dollars. I mean, all this is tithing dollars that we're talking about.
Yeah, everything in that fund is.
Or the result of invested tithe dollars.
Mm-hmm.
$1.5 billion was spent to complete behind schedule construction of the City Creek Mall downtown Salt Lake City, right across the street from Temple Square.
So, everyone hates that mall so much.
Yeah.
I've been there once, and I was like, I can't believe the church built this stupid mall.
It's a nice mall.
It's a nice mall in a crappy part of Salt Lake.
Hey, Temple Square is right across the street.
And they like filled it with all these like luxury brands.
Yeah.
And then all those luxury brands had to like cancel their leases, and then they had to put in like outlet stores in there because they're like, this is going to be a high-end mall.
Why did they cancel their leases, the high-end guys?
Because who goes to Salt Lake in that part of town? You know, it's like you build that in like North Bountiful or something, like North Salt Lake and Bountiful, where the rich people are.
It's like
a Louis Vuitton store is like the stuff they have in there.
Like
there's no Old Navy in that mall.
No, it might be the wrong crowd for sure. Like the devout people. I mean, the food court was popping last time I was there.
Yeah, I basically only went there for the food court.
Yeah.
But then like then it gets into the hypocrisy of like, everyone's like, so no tithing's being spent on this stupid mall, right? They're like, no.
Yeah, a lot of dishonesty there.
And then it's like, well, that remains to be seen. So,
well, there was.
If the allegation is true, then yeah, they spent our tithing dollars to prop up this stupid mall.
Yeah.
But the other one that really riled me up,
what was the other one?
Shook my goose feathers. It's because I had just finished watching The Big Short like the day before.
Yeah.
And so the church owns an insurance company, Beneficial Life. And so they transferred just a big old fat stack of cash, like $600 million, to cover their exposure from mortgage-backed securities during the financial crisis.
Oh.
And I was like, what are they... Like, what does that mean?
Right.
Mortgage-backed? Were they buying CDOs or was it just mortgage insurance that they had to pay out on? Like, I was like, why does a church-owned insurance company have $600 million of exposure to mortgage-backed securities?
Hey, it seemed like a good investment at the time. They can't fail, or so they thought.
Except for the 6 guys from that movie who thought they would fail and shorted them.
And sure enough, they did.
But
good movie, by the way.
Yeah, so I was just like,
watch it.
So I was like, so our tithing dollars are being spent to shore up the church's insurance company.
Their mistakes. Yeah.
Which some people on the Twitter reaction was like, hey, I have no problem with my tithing being spent to ensure the church's financial security. I was like, well,
yo, that's like solid. The financial security portion, that's all tied up at this point. That's a guarantee.
Yeah. But I didn't ask them to build that mall, and I didn't ask them to buy mortgage-backed securities either.
You know what I've always wondered about is the whole thing about the audit report in General Conference. I never paid attention to it until I think it was in university when I started to have a little more knowledge about these things. And the guy, I was like, okay, what is this guy's like credentials? And then it's like church-appointed internal auditor. And then he gets up and he's like, I'm here to tell you that everything is A-okay. I'm like, wait, what? His title is like internal church
Like you're just
auditor. Like
you're like, this guy's from PwC, right? This is a PricewaterhouseCooper auditor.
That's what I thought. Yeah, but it's like, no, they're their own. It's like, of course they're going to say, can you imagine if that guy got up? He's like, there's something fishy going on in the middle of general conference. Of course he's not going to say that.
No.
So like from that point, I was like, that's pretty crazy. And then I had heard some rumblings about the City Creek Mall fiasco, and some people are upset about that. And then it kind of, this is the big bubble popping and it all being revealed. Speaking of, talk about a revelation.
Well, yeah, and so the only, I think, possible legal issue is if they did transfer that tithing money for their business ventures, then that definitely raises some questions about tax exempt status.
Well, yeah, and I think it said it went against the Articles of Incorporation, or I don't know what you would. I think so, yeah, because for EPA itself, like it's not allowed to do that, and it did it.
Yeah, and the guy's complaint was those are the only two transactions that have ever happened in that company's entire existence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like it's never paid for any church education or anything.
Right, and that's maybe a point we should hit home too. Is the reason why the church and churches don't have to pay taxes is because they're supposed to be this public good. Mm-hmm. It's for the public good, which taxes are used for anyway, or hopefully used for, and so that's why they are exempt from it. So the condition being that they have to spend the money that they would have spent paying taxes doing the religious or educational or whatever humanitarian expenditures would be. But, and this is the big problem here, and like, I guess if we can put aside the problem of whether it's like a tax issue or not, like I guess they're probably following the rules to the T.
Yeah.
But the spirit of the law is spend the money to help mankind, like.
Well, apparently they're looking in the long run. Like they gotta save money. It's a sound financial principle.
And you're right.
So yeah, that's kind of because everyone, like one take was like breaking news: the church saves more than it spends, and we're like, yes,
that's
$100 billion.
That's not quite. It also has a It's just like,
well, yeah, and then the numbers. So here's the hypocrisy of the presiding Bishop Gerald Gosset. So I think it was in 2008, he like gave a speech, a little talk. I think it was called Financing Faith.
Right.
Yeah. Where all he did, well, a lot of times he was quoting Gordon B. Hinckley. Because, Gordon B. Hinckley was prophet when Mormon Inc. came out. And they had to respond to that.
Which was a Time piece, like the Time magazine, right?
Yeah, that was in like the 90s or something.
Yeah.
To where they're just like, hey, you guys have a lot of money. And he's like, well, it's costly assets is what he said.
Yeah.
Which I think was true at the time. And he said and they're like, you don't even need to collect tithing, do you? And he said, we could stop collecting tithing for a little while and then we would run out of money.
Yeah.
And so then Bishop Gosset, he reiterates that. He requotes Gordon B. Hinckley saying this, which is really disingenuous. Because now it's 100% true that they could just not collect tithing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he ends with and the true wealth of the church is the faith of its members.
See, that's the thing, right?
To where, and I'm just like, he's not wrong, but it doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah. Okay, so have we covered all of the details of sort of the basic framework of what's happening here? Are we missing anything?
Let's see. Some more stats to get across. The church spends $40 million a year in humanitarian aid.
Yeah.
They could probably bump that up to $400 million a year and still not be hurting.
And be super safe.
Yeah.
$500 million.
They just raised the monthly cost of missionary work from $400 a month to $500.
Right.
They probably didn't need to do that. They probably could have
No.
just paid for that themselves.
Oh, for sure. Okay. So these are all.
I mean, I don't know what our next angle. My next angle is all the Twitter feeds being like, they're like, so why are we getting up at 8 a.m. to clean the church?
Yes. Yeah. There's so much. It's all volunteer. I mean, here's a side of it though that, and this is the angle of, big news. The church saves more than it spends, or like, it's okay. So maybe the idea is the fact that we have this much surplus is whether or not like the reality of how the money is being spent, which it isn't being, it's just being invested. Maybe that is the security of the church. Like that is the security of the church. And it's the kind of church where it's, otherwise it would have failed. Like so many of these other churches have failed. This one has succeeded massively, apparently, we now know, financially speaking anyway.
And still, like, on one of the, like, our church is still growing.
Yeah.
In the Western world, which is, like, unheard of for every other church.
Do you think there will come a day when there are dividends repaid to tithe payers?
Heavens no. Obviously, that wouldn't happen.
What do you think is... So now it's like, okay, now we have the ability to cover our costs entirely plus extra. Now, like we'll have an extra $1 billion on top, which is the surplus of extra tithing that we get. What if they said, all right, we're done. Now we're done collecting tithing.
Well, they wouldn't. And here's the thing that's interesting, right, is I was a self-reliance facilitator.
Yeah.
Where, I was facilitating putting on these like personal finance courses because, and then like the stake, high counselors and councilmen are different things.
Right.
The stake high councilman was like, the reason that the church wants this is because you get every member of the church, their personal finances in order. Now they can pay tithing. It's a win-win.
Yes.
They have more money, and when the members of the church have more money, the church has more money. Yeah, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, interesting. So he's like, huh? So it's like, that's why
everybody wins.
It's just like, if the church can make the members richer, the church is richer. I was like, that is true. But then it's like, because they're worried there's members of the church who live so far on the margin that they can't afford to pay tithing.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want those people to leave the margin so they can pay tithing. But it's like, a member that's paying tithing is a happier member.
Yes.
So that's why it's like, we want to train members to be wealthy enough to pay tithing, which is like, from a business perspective, you're kind of just like, wow, why don't you just introduce progressive tithing if you want to like increase? So, I mean, it's like, it's not about increasing revenues, but it just so happens that they would increase revenues.
Yeah, I'm a little split on the matter because the principles that got them to where they are, they're important aspects like saving and being productive and giving being generous with your money and giving it to tithing. These are all like good ideas on the micro level for the individual to do. It's just that they've accumulated so much money. You know what I mean? Like there's two matters here. Like they can't just turn around and say now, okay, we're going to stop with the tithing. We're going to let loose on the discipline. Because once you do that,
where it's like tithing is no longer a temple recommend question. But we suggest it for your own soul.
The reason
it's
why
still like I don't know how they would relax that, but
yeah.
I mean, it already is pretty relaxed.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And it's also the idea of like, it's capitalism, you know, where because the idea of like taking the 100 billion that we've accumulated through basically the industry of members and their generosity and giving to the church. You turn around and now it's like, all right, now we're going to spend the pie. Now the pie shrinks, and you know the welfare of the church as a whole is maybe put in peril. I don't know. I don't know if I believe what I'm saying right now. 100 billion is a lot of money, Lyndon.
Yeah, that they're just saving up.
What could they possibly be saving this money for?
The word on the street is second comings, Armageddons.
And okay, so for Armageddon, basically. I
And
mean,
you're not sure we're going to need money in the millennium.
I don't know if we will need it.
Well, I guess if they talk about the millennium, they're going to build so many temples. Going to be a temple on every corner. Who are you? You got to pay people to build them. Do you think people are going to...
Isn't the whole idea...
What do you think? The United Order is just going to descend upon us like in the form of a dove? And,
yeah.
And people will be like, I'll help build your temple as long as this guy educates my children. And he'll be like, and I'll educate the children as long as someone gives me some bacon. And then the pig farmer's like, and I'll give everyone bacon as long as this guy gives me corn.
And the corn guy's like,
I want
all
money.
The corn to myself.
You guys want to buy some corn derivatives?
I don't know what to make of it all. I don't know if I buy it. I thought it was all going to be a big communist thing once Jesus comes back. Like, it's all going to be a law of consecration. Everybody is everything. You know, everything belongs to everybody.
Well, yeah, because like tithing is already like just half of the... It's so funny that they've just got so much money. And that was my other question. Because they're like 100 billion in liquid assets.
Yeah.
And then it's about 100 billion in like, you know, real estate.
Yes.
And then I'm like, what's that ratio normally look like in like a company? Because they talk about like Microsoft has like $130 billion in liquid assets. What's Microsoft's, you know?
Non-liquid assets. Probably much more. But like the church's non-liquid assets are like probably massive as well. We're a real estate company, basically.
Yeah.
We're just, we're so rich. It's incredible.
Well, I know. And I'm just like, the Bow Valley Chapel is so old. Just build a new one. Now it's just like, anytime we're like, why don't we have this? It's going to be like, we know there's money for it.
Yeah, exactly. This is a bit of a game changer in that.
Yeah, because there's a whole Twitter thread about, because I remember as a kid, we hired someone to be a custodian for the church.
Yeah.
And it was normally like a member of the ward, and they had like a business doing it, and it helped them out.
Yeah.
Then I remember as a kid, they stopped, and they're like, now we're all going to learn about service and learn to appreciate the building because we're all going to take turns cleaning it. I was like, well, what about so-and-so? Like, I was told it really helped out their business that they had this contract. And they're like, man,
shut up and clean.
Just clean the church. And then it's like, we absolutely have the money to pay some people that need some work to clean the church. And then people are like, my children have learned responsibility by cleaning the church. It's like, let them learn it somewhere else.
And then you got the diehards who are just fall on the sword so hard just to be like, we do it because God said we have to do it. And they get real mad. Like I remember my bishop, in, how old? I guess like 12 or 13 or something. And did you ever do like where you'd go around collecting fast offerings as like a priest or something?
Yeah, whatever? I did. I think it was a special teacher duty.
Yeah, right. And so we would do it. And I was like, because the whole thing is that you can pay when you pay your tithing, when you come to church.
Yeah, it's a shakedown.
And they were making us go out to people's houses specifically. And what I said to the bishop, I was like, is this like just like a make work thing for us? Like it doesn't really, it's not an optimal use of resources sort of a thing. I didn't say it like that, but I said like I think I said it's like a make work thing. And he got real mad and was like, fine, I'll do it myself. And then he like grabbed them all away from us. And then like he kind of calmed down. He's like, I can't do these. I need help. I'm busy. So I don't know. That's sort of like, why did he get so mad? Like there's so much emotion in all of this,
Right.
You have this thing that's like purely unemotional, which is this, and the less emotion in investing, the better. And then on the other side of it, it's just like, is that the part that's kind of maybe upsetting? Is, to me anyway, is this? It's you've got it, one of the biggest. I wonder how rich of a church we are. It's like us, Scientology, Catholicism. I like name a wealthier church. I don't know.
Yeah, because they're putting us at $200 billion now.
Yeah,
at least.
So we have all this money, and then they turn around and they say God has commanded you to pay tithing. God has commanded you to do X and Y and Z and to clean the chapel and to do this and to do that. And a rational thinker like you had said, it's like, well, we have the money to pay for, even like members who are members without jobs. They could pay them to clean.
They could just straight up provide employment insurance.
Yeah, through their insurance company.
Yeah.
And then it's like you turn, like the moment you question that, that's when the fury reigns. It's just like, so what? We have 100 billion. I don't know. Like that's the thing. It's like,
well, that was the Forbes article. The Forbes article was like, the IRS will do nothing about this. He's like, the only thing that comes from all this is that the members of the Mormon Church, which I was so offended, they have to start talking to their leadership about this.
Yeah.
Because it was like, wait a second.
That is the big takeaway from all of this, I think.
Yeah, so it's like, and then the other those poor like Nielsen brothers, I mean, they're going to hell, obviously.
They're going to burn for this.
Yeah. I mean, like the top YouTube comment, the guy's like, bro, you're going to get excommunicated for this.
Yeah. I don't think he cares, though.
Yeah, I hear like the rumor was the guy's disgruntled because his family left the church. So he quit working for the church and wanted to retire on his whistleblower fees.
Which he will not get.
And instead, he'll just get eternal damnation.
Poor guy. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
Maybe Congress wants to change the laws.
That's their business. It has nothing to do.
Maybe that's the other thing. It's all like so American based, right?
Yeah.
Because like in Canada, like the rules in Canada are like the church's tithing money can't go to Salt Lake.
Okay.
It like stays in Canada.
Interesting. I did not know that.
It sits in some bank account at CIBC. So the Canadian church pays for itself. But, I mean, we can't send our money to Salt Lake, but Salt Lake can send us money.
And they can tell us what to do with the money that we have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't leave the country, but they absolutely still control it.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. The question is, one of the questions is, do you think there will be a drop in people paying tithing?
No. I think it's kind of like, I assume part of it'll be like the salamander letters.
Yeah.
Where it's like some fake thing that doesn't really matter, and it's going to separate the wheat from the tares, the sheep from the goat. Like people that were on the fence are going to be like, I'm out of here. I can't believe this injustice. And they're going to leave the church, and they were just looking for an excuse to leave. But they weren't paying tithing anyway.
Yeah. How many facts do people need before they change their mind about a thing? How many like confirmed facts does someone need before they're willing to like change their opinion about something? Like how many
what's the opinion? Like they're like, is the question in their mind, do I need to pay tithing?
Well, that's one of the questions. The other question is, was the church? Because, I mean, this is a problem. Like, we've sort of breezed over it, But the whole thing, because the thing with Kosei saying, like, reiterating the idea that while we can't stop collecting tithing because the church would stop operating eventually. That's just, and that was in 2018, where presumably the fund was somewhere around, I don't know, $93 billion. Surely that was just a flat out lie that was told. That's a lie, right? Can we just, like, as far as my
that's the thing where
goes,
it's because he's quoting Gordon B. Hinckley. He's not saying it. He's
message,
just saying, this is what Gordon B. Hinckley said, 18 years ago. It's like, is it true today? I'm neither saying yes or no.
The message conveyed, and if for the Strength of Youth pamphlet is to be widely, that's the standard we go by, where it talks about honesty, and even, like, the idea of a falsehood is, like, wrong. Like, you shouldn't even imply a thing that, like, is misleading. Well, that was a very misleading thing to say, that the church would simply run out of money if we stopped collecting. No, it's not true.
No, it could operate in perpetuity off the interest.
And so now it's like, how do they, like, they gotta know this kind of thing is gonna keep happening. If they have skeletons in the closet, if they have more skeletons, which presumably they do.
Well, I mean, for some people, the skeleton is, why isn't this fund closer to $1 trillion?
Yeah, what have they been doing?
They're like, that's all they've got? I mean, now here's a little sidebar that I've been meaning to bring up, because, this is a ensign whatever.
Yes.
But there's even more, because there's more funds. This is like the fund with $100 billion, but there's lots of other funds that have other monies, and there's like Deseret Management and Deseret Industries, and part of like Deseret Industries is Deseret Ranches.
Oh my gosh!
And you're just like,
more.
And you're like, Lyndon, what problem could you possibly have with Deseret Ranches? Well, as you know, there's some ranches down in southern Alberta.
I don't like ranches. Okay.
They raise cattle there. Those are the church's for-profit businesses. Those are all taxed.
Yep.
But here's a scandal for you.
Okay.
They don't let you go hunting on their ranches. They've got mule deer eating their haystacks, cutting into their profits, but they won't let anyone go hunting and shoot them. Oh, wait. That's not exactly true.
Uh-oh.
The local managers auction off hunts to celebrities to go shoot their monster bucks. Blake Shelton just went out and shot a big muley buck at Deseret Ranches in southern Alberta. He paid $10,000. And they say, the money goes back to the church. How?
Into the $100 billion fund?
Well, I don't even think so. I think it just goes
into a different $100 billion
I think they
fund.
take that $10,000 and it goes right into the ranch manager's pockets. And so I'm just like, I'm sitting here, an honest, faithful member of the church, and I can't shoot a deer on the church's ranch. But Blake Shelton, philanderer, broke. Who does he marry to? Miranda?
Gwen Stefani.
Well, no, that's who he's dating.
Miranda
Lamb.
Blake. I don't know.
Faith Hill.
Faith Hill.
He was married to another country music singer. Broke her heart.
Dolly Parton's heart.
Left her for that
Gwen Stefani.
Gwen Stefani.
Dang.
He's allowed to go shoot deer on the church's ranch for money.
Okay, that is pretty
But
bad.
I'm not even allowed to go shoot a muley doe off their haystack so it doesn't ruin their hay. That's the biggest scandal for me in all this.
That is minor, and it's weird that bothers you so much, but I understand where you're coming from.
Like, I need a letter from President Nelson saying, like, yes, Lyndon, of course you can go shoot deer on the ranch. You've earned that. Go, my son.
You've earned it. Go and
Blake Shelton has.
Shoot.
It's like, but Blake Shelton's earned it more because he's rich.
Man, again, how many times, how many things do people need? How many things do people need before they're spurred to think twice about any of this stuff? It kind of makes me mad, Lyndon. It makes me infuriated.
I don't know.
You don't know? You're not infuriated?
What, that they've been collecting all this money?
That they've
Have you been
lying.
That you've been what, have you been oblivious to the fact that they collect tithing and keep it?
You want to think that you're contributing.
I mean, I've long known. I was just like, the church does not need my money.
Yeah.
I've known that for some time.
Yes.
But I guess for some people, it was like, I don't know, some people, they like the tax break, the charity. There was like a recent article about some millennial that's like, I've been donating 10% of my income to charity for 4 years, and it's the best thing I've ever done. And then people like, this article went viral, and everyone's like, it's called tithing. Millennials didn't invent this.
Yeah.
Where it's like, the principle is good, and I guess a lot of people are like, I use this church building, and I got to pay my dues.
Yeah, that's fair.
Someone's got to put the sacrament bread on the table every week. That costs money.
Also, turns out they don't have to.
Also, turns out because of American capitalism and financial markets, and prude financial investing, the church doesn't need voluntary contributions at all anymore.
No.
We need them still. That's the
them.
debate. Huh. The church doesn't need them. And
we're doing this for you.
Yeah.
This is to help you. Okay, how about this? How about the church? What about this? The church takes your money, invests it for you, and then they keep 5%. They give you 5% back.
Well, they're only getting 7%.
7%?
That's their returns on that
right.
enzyme.
Okay, well, let's say we're buying into a fund then. Let's say you're buying shares. Let's change the whole structure.
I know.
Let's make it into a fund.
A hedge fund.
A hedge fund. And you're buying shares in a hedge fund. And however small your, if you put in, I can only afford $100 this month. It's like, okay, well, you get 0.00 something shares of the Mormon Church EPA fund.
Mormon Inc.
Mormon Inc. fund. Here you go. And then you can redeem the shares, and they can use, and then because at least in that way there's sort of a transaction.
Just church
happening.
bonds.
Bonds.
Like instead of tithing, let's just have church bonds.
Church bonds. Let's cut out the whole thing let's cut out the lie where look, we need the money. You don't need the money, but what we can do obviously is prove that we have a great ability to grow money. And so we want to grow your money, and God commands you to grow your money, and that'll work, right? So people will just be like, yeah, God wants me to do that.
Keep talking like this, you're going to be an apostle.
I doubt that. I don't know. It's just upsetting.
Yeah, I want some tithing bonds.
I want a tithing bond, and I want let's just like make it more honest. Let's make it more I don't know. Just the deception, Lynn. It just really grinds my gears.
Yeah, I guess that wasn't really cool. And if they were funneling money from the fund to Deseret Management, and then Deseret Management was paying for the mall, that's not cool.
It's not cool.
And especially all the press being like, tithing money is not being spent on this mall. But they're just like, but
it is.
They're like, what is tithing money anymore to us?
It's just money.
They're just like, your tithing money is so insignificant to us that we can't even tell when it is or isn't.
We couldn't do it. It's all just in a house in Utah somewhere. We just load
Have you ever looked at the basement of the Beehive House?
Loaded with
cash. It's just gold bullion.
It's built. Where do you think we get all the gold for all the angel Moroni's from? Yeah, those aren't free. And they're pure gold, okay? Not gold leaf. Gold bullion.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people, apparently this is a thing. There's a lot of members of the church that are like these conspiracy people that are legitimately upset it's only $100 billion because they want the church to be saving up money for the end time so that they become their own little nation.
Oh, boy.
So they can fund the actual, Zion's camp. It's coming back.
Oh, boy.
But it's going to be tanks and aircraft carriers.
What, in the millennium, we're going to go out shooting people and killing and raping and pillaging?
Maybe half that.
Maybe some of it, we've got to defend ourselves against the armies of Satan. I don't know, man.
And we'll need billions of dollars.
How about this? How about we just like cure something? How about you take...
Oh, yeah, that's the other...
we cure something.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is like $40 billion.
Yeah.
And they're just like trying to like solve water
They're
problems.
trying so hard to solve real problems. And we're out here trying to like get our home teaching numbers up. Except it's not home teaching.
Ministering.
It's ministering. And what the hell is that even? This episode is me just ranting about all the things that upset me. Oh, man. Honestly, though, let's, like, what changed? What other addressing...
Like, if you really want to rebel, if you really want to stop paying tithing and just pay fast offering. Bum, bum, bum. Ah, crap. You can't say that. I'm just like, that's
what
like,
do you want to get excommunicated?
That's what gets you a disciplinary council. I'm not advocating that. Pay your tithing.
Yeah.
Go to the temple.
I'm saying, yeah, do whatever you want to do. That's what I say.
But I'm predicting that if someone wanted to be like, they'd be like, because fast offering just stays in your stake. It's very local.
Right.
I mean, your tithing is also pretty local too. But
yeah. Or you could just like, say, hey, God, it's me, Troy. Or just insert your name there. And you say, here's what I'm going to do.
It's me, true and faithful listener of this podcast.
I'm going to put aside 10% of my income, and I'm going to spend it on, I'm going to do local things around my community. I'm going to find someone personally to help, and I'm going to invest in that person, one-to-one, person to person. And that's what I'm going to do, and hope that's okay. Do you think God would be mad at you for doing that?
Mad? No. Would your bishop take he'd probably be like, I'm going to need to see some receipts, and then give you your temple recommend once he does a thorough audit.
Do you think that would be an interesting idea? That, like, would he give you... It's like, I choose not to add to the church's hedge fund. I choose instead to see an actual benefit given to another person. And these are the receipts, and these are, the if you really wanted to be thorough with it, do you think a bishop would accept that?
I think many would. And I think,
you think?
I think many would not. I've gone into the bishop's office, and I've been like, listen, bishop, I'm a student. I run a for cash business. I haven't paid tithing in a little while. Not really sure what the books are looking like right now. And he's just like, whatever, bro. Signs my temple recommend. He's like, you do what you got to do.
And you do what you got to do. He knows that the church has 100 billion.
Yeah, he's just like, what am I going to say? You can't go to the temple because some broke student hasn't sent his $150 to Salt Lake. Yeah. No, he's going to be like, whatever.
Whatevs.
Go in faith, my son, is what that bishop would say.
Go in faith.
Now, if Mitt Romney goes to his bishop and says, listen,
I'm going to stop paying tithing.
And they're going to be like, you make up like 12% of tithing. We really like that.
We need you fat cats to keep paying, okay? Man, what a crazy thing.
I know. I mean, you got like the Marriott's donating private jets to the church and stuff, so.
Man, people really believe. They really, really believe.
Believe what?
All of it. They really believe, literally, that Joseph Smith, all the things.
Yeah.
That there's a Urim and Thummim, that that the hat was real, that the seer stone was real. It was all real. And that's why they give jets to the church. Or there's other reasons, maybe tax breaks, I don't know. But
community,
It's
like
it's
a great community.
Baffling to me, Lyndon.
Church has brought people a lot of blessings.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Wouldn't they want to see it succeed?
You don't.
You got to have faith, Troy.
In what? The capitalist system of the United States, the markets, the capital markets? I have faith in those, apparently.
You'd have to.
That's what your faith has been in for the last, pretty much our lifetimes. Pretty much you could say that every dollar you've paid in tithing has gone to a hedge fund for the church.
Well, it's not a hedge fund. They don't really use it that way. If they did.
Kind of do. They kind of do. I don't know. Should I calm down? Tell me to calm down.
Calm down, Troy.
Okay. Everything's fine. Go back to your day. Everything's good.
The church's income is its people.
The church's
people
income
is the church.
Is its own business, and we don't need to know any of that. We don't need to know these things. All you need to worry about is keep your nose to the grindstone. Keep those funds coming in. Because the first presidency Christmas party ain't going to pay for itself.
Everybody gets Ferraris. Hey, welcome to the apostleship. Here's your Ferrari. Meet you at the track on Saturday.
Now that's a whole other issue. But the general authority stipends. They don't get Ferraris, Troy. They could.
They absolutely could.
They could all give themselves Ferraris, but they don't.
But they don't. Well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you're asking for the church to become a taxable entity.
No, I'm not even asking for that. I'm just asking the church to quit making it seem like tithing is anything. Quit making it seem like the church needs tithing dollars. That's demand number one. Quit making it seem like that. B, quit making it seem like God really would be so upset if you stopped paying tithing to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints specifically. I understand that it's good to be generous with your money to other people and to help people in the community. I get that. But this whole thing where you can't go to the celestial kingdom, be a worthy temple recommend holder, unless you're fitting the bill. If you're adding to the hedge fund, get those funds in, bruh. I don't like that. I do not like that.
Well, then
you're not a grade A member of the church unless you're giving us money. I just don't. Don't like it.
It does. Now it is interesting when you talk about your idea of taking your tithe and handling it yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're still technically consecrating it to the kingdom of God, I guess.
Yeah, you're doing what the church should be doing with the money. Shouldn't they think of what they could do with that money, Lyndon?
Yeah, what was it? Harvard University's endowment is like $50 billion. They're like, they could just build another BYU.
Yes.
And let all the kids go there for free.
Everyone could go to school for free. Oh, it makes me mad. This is making me mad, Lyndon.
Well, they
could cure. What could they do?
They could forget about a university. I'm a polytechnic guy. They could build the nicest polytechnic school, trade school in the West.
They could.
And let people go there dirt cheap. They could all become
cancer.
skilled. That's not true. Don't speak silly.
They could get close to curing something. I am very confident in that.
Yeah, they could throw a medical school onto BYU. They could fund that. Get some start training doctors and medical researchers.
I mean, this is the sort of the thing with every billionaire is they all could do so much to help so many people. And yet they don't. And even me, right? I could sell all the things that I have and give my money to a billionaire to stockpile. I don't know. People are greedy. Entities are greedy. People and organizations are just greedy. I guess, I don't know. I guess it's it's like
it's like you're saying the church is greedy.
I think they are. Obviously they are.
Well, if they were spending that money on Ferraris.
Now, Troy, how can you think that? How can
Is that what I sound like?
No, I'm just like imagining
Like there's-
every boomer at church who would like respond. Like if someone at church was actually like here listening to this, what they would be saying to me, and they would be getting so emotional. Like I'm emotional right now too. But
I was like, you're a little tilted.
I don't know. I just
You've been working yourself up this whole time.
I know. I don't know how I can relax from it though, because the more I think about it, the more it grinds my gears.
You know what the problem is?
I care too much about this.
No, the people who are unaffected by this are the people who are so committed to the church, because now they can't even like separate themselves from the church. So when they hear the church has 100 billion, they're like, I have 100 billion.
That's true.
But it's like people that are like 1 foot in or from the outside looking in, they're the ones who are riled up.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know,
That's true. If I was fully and completely committed, this wouldn't matter to me. Isn't that a strange phenomenon? Should this matter to people, Lyndon? I think it should.
well, I mean, it's stirred up enough drama to make people question, you know, the church's cleaning policy.
At the very least, their cleaning policy. If not more.
You know, we were all like so proud. We're like $40 million a year in humanitarian aid. It's like, I think we could probably double that.
Oh yeah, at least add 1 more million to it. Like, what are they doing with?
I don't know.
I don't
'Cause
know.
I mean,
I gotta calm myself down here.
you know, because it's just they just haven't been telling us about it, or they've been telling us quotes from years ago. So it's like, yeah, because it's like, I don't think Gordon B. Hinckley. I think Gordon B. Hinckley was being straight up with us when he's just like, hey.
Probably at that
when he's
time,
like, we
yeah.
got a lot of assets. A lot of them are actually
They cost
money-consuming
money.
assets.
Yes.
But in, you know, the 20 years since Gordon B. Hinckley's statements, we've collected a lot of money-earning assets.
Yes.
So it's, I think, in one sense, I don't know, it's like it's all kind of new to the church, but then again, it's not, because then they're just like, I think we need to like build malls and stuff. And then they're like, do we tell the members what, like maybe they just don't even know.
Who don't?
Like the church, like they're just like, they're busy trying to build the true wealth of the church,
They know.
the faith of its members.
They know. Don't.
And
give me
suddenly, in 20 years, they've just accumulated this giant war chest, and they're like, so we should save it for the second coming.
that. Which is bullcrap, because Jesus comes back, God comes back. He's God. He can do anything.
With money.
The reason why he can do anything is because he's friggin' rich.
Think about it, Troy.
How do you think we're going to be gods? By being billionaires. Come on.
Give your head a shake. So naive.
You simple fool. You thought it was going to be a law of consecration? I don't know.
It is tricky.
It's a mess.
In a capitalist society, a man's worth is only about how much he earns. So in a capitalist society, a church is only worth what it earns.
It's true, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know. What else do we have?
What do you think? You think God's going to come back and he's going to be like, why do you have this fat stack of cash?
No, he's going to burn it up with his glory. And then of course, none of it's physical cash, but still, he's gonna
It's going to be burned up.
He's going to burn up. He's going to hit the delete key. He's going to be like, guess what? Money means nothing. I'm back. I'm in charge. I'm the king, just like the scriptures say I will be. And guess what? Now we all just contribute everything we have, and I will dole it out based off of my perfect judgment. You don't need money. You just go to the place. You produce the thing. You contribute it to the big pile of things, and then we'll use the structure and organization and perfect judgment that I have to redistribute it to everybody else. So you get everything you need, and everybody else gets everything they need. And it works perfectly because I'm not a tyrannical dictator. I'm Jesus Christ, and I'm God, and it all works perfectly. Guess what? We don't even need money.
See, that sounds like the millennium. So let's back it up.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe the second coming, not so much. Armageddon. We need it for Armageddon.
To get through. Who cares, though? Everything that we have on this earth will be as nothing. It will be as the dust, and death is just
We got to keep the Latter-day Saints alive in Armageddon
we don't.
to carry out the work in the millennium.
No, we don't, though. Because death, we're all going to die anyway, and Jesus can just come and do, like, whatever. When the time comes, he'll just come and, like, strike down all the baddies, and everyone death is nothing to him, because it's just like death has been conquered already. The sting of death is no more because of the atonement. Like, all of these temporal affairs, they just don't matter in the long run and in the religious frame of things. Like, they just it shouldn't even come into play.
So then using the money...
So what's the money for?
So using the money to even alleviate suffering now
would have
doesn't even matter in the eternities. What are you upset about?
Yeah, you're right. You just circled it back around on my own argument. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter. Screw it. Now you've thrown me into nihilism again, Lyndon. I don't appreciate that. It'll take me months to get out of this.
Well,
this whole
our
nothing matters.
Our good friend Nietzsche, he approves.
I guess so. I don't know. In the meantime,
during the throes of nihilism,
I'm talking.
Spring forth like a phoenix from the ashes with new beliefs and new understanding.
Well, here's another talk. Here's another scriptural thing, or like a talk you can say. President Eyring's talk. Someday, there's a danger in someday. It's like, we're going to spend this money someday. Let's spend it, or at least let's spend the cream at the top of the pile of cash, our little extra earnings. Let's spend that on. Although, here's a maybe they're like, they have a goal, and the goal is like, let's get the seed money up to $500 billion, $500 billion. Let's get up to $500 billion.
Okay.
And every year we make, I don't know what that would be, 15 billion or something, or whatever that percentage of, like, the big chunk of income earning investments of 15 billion or like 500 billion, that turns every year into some billions of dollars.
Right.
And so it's like, once we get to that point, then we can distribute, every member of the church gets $1 million or something.
Yeah,
that will never happen.
Well, baptismal rates will go through the roof. It's like the Ralph bucks.
Yeah.
It's like every citizen of Alberta gets $400 from oil royalties. It's like every member of the church.
If only.
But it's like, you have to come to church to pick up your check. So some people, it's like their once a year visit to church.
If only.
Well, by that point, the church would have probably lost its tax exempt status.
Yeah.
And then they'll just laugh. They'll be like, let the government have its cut. What do we care?
Nothing matters in the name of Jesus Christ. I don't know.
It's okay. I'm sure they'll forgive you, Troy, for
my freak out.
Your freak out, your rantings. This is all new.
It's all
This
new.
is new stuff. It shocked me. I saw it pop up on Reddit, and I was like reading the highlights to Jasmine, and she's like, I'm trying to watch my show. And I'm like, I don't think you realize this is kind of a big deal.
Yes. It is a big deal.
It's all new information. It's a little shocking. It's going to jar people. You're going to get a little rattled.
Yes, and literally nothing will change. And nothing will change. All of this coming out.
And that's the sort of constancy I need in my life.
I took a Myers-Briggs test recently. And it said that I am a debater type.
Well, which one is that?
It's so it's ENT F INTF.
The last one is either a J or a P. It's either INTP or EN.
Judgment versus prospecting, right?
Perceiving.
So I was perceiving or prospect. I think it's prospecting was the thing that I took. So I'm extroverted, intuitive, thinking is the other one, and prospecting. So I'm outgoing. I'm more of a rational, like thinking as opposed to feeling.
Yep.
Intuitive. I don't know what that means. Open to.
I forget what the alternative to intuitive is.
Yeah, I forget.
S. Sensing. Sensing or intuitive.
Right. Anyway, so it made me out to be this person who just like values rationality above all, and an argument must hold on its own merits. And it said that the weaknesses are I'm intolerant and I'm overly critical or something like that, or insensitive. You know, I don't take feelings into account. If I'm just like, let the facts stand, people. Doesn't this matter? Kind of a thing. So maybe all of that has been on display in this podcast. I don't know.
Also, for the listeners' benefit, for the last 15 minutes, Troy has actually taken the mic out of the stand and has been holding it around, almost pacing in his chair.
I've been pacing in my chair.
Can't use the mic stand because he had to roll around in anger and disgust.
I needed more control, Lyndon. I needed to control something in this crazy world.
So that's our Christmas episode.
So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I don't know. When should we release this? I feel like maybe we should give it a moment. Or should
this is fresh breaking news.
Is it fresh bacon news?
You know, you want people to have to think about this again after Christmas when no one cares?
No, you're right. Let's release it. You'll get 2 podcasts in 2 days.
Let's see. What's some fun things we can we can update the listeners on the Joe Sim fiasco.
Oh, interesting. I was just thinking about that.
Enemy of the podcast.
Yes.
Joe Sim has finally released the final footage of my wedding.
Oh, nice.
You may recall I was married about 6 months ago.
Yeah, a little while ago.
And the videographer we hired to take care of that finally got around to giving us the footage.
Finally got the footage.
Yeah.
All the raw footage and the completed
He's
footage.
like, I stayed up all night last night getting this ready for you, he said in his message. I said, all last night for the last 6 months?
Did you say that?
No, obviously he's not communicating with me.
Okay. But
I was also told not to razz Joe Sim on the podcast anymore. But here we are.
Now that he has delivered, all is forgiven, right?
No.
No, okay.
Now that he's finally delivered and isn't holding our video hostage, now we can razz him.
We can really razz him.
Yeah.
Hello,
He's
I'm
off
Joe Sim.
gallivanting in Europe.
I'm off gallivanting in Europe and I don't have time to do Lyndon's his thing. He's from England. He doesn't sound like that, but he has like a really nice British accent.
Yeah, he's got the really nice London
I
one.
know that. You know, it's very... It's not like he's got a bunch of marbles in his mouth. It's like, hello, welcome to the BBC. It's not quite that either. It's a nice accent.
It's not the posh one, but it's the other one in London that everyone likes.
Oh, that. It's like, kind of like that. Hello there. I don't know. All I know is that I'm glad that the hostage has been released.
So now we can finally get the footage of your routine.
Yes. I was honestly thinking about this today at work, where I was like, I was just bummed that I was never going to get to see that footage.
Yeah, the little comedy routine that so many people hated.
Hey, I heard a lot of laughs in that room.
So did I.
And now I guess we're going to find out if those were real or not, according to this footage.
See, it was memorable. Because some people have strong feelings about your jokes.
Who has the strongest feelings? Who hates me? Let's go through it.
Well, after this episode, everyone.
Fair enough.
No one hates Troy Remington Cooper.
Maybe just my deeds and my thoughts and feelings. They don't hate the person. They hate the sinner.
You don't hate the mustard.
You hate the mustard sauce.
You don't hate the shirt. You hate the mustard stain. So you do hate the mustard.
I'm not a mustard fan.
Are you a shirt or are you a mustard stain?
You're saying that
People are shirts.
people are a shirt. So I'm a shirt.
And they get ketchup and mustard all over it.
And my beliefs about what the church should be doing with its money, and my criticism of literal believers is ketchup and mustard stains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to untangle people from their ideas. I mean, what are we really? Who are we?
We are luminous beings.
You excited for Star Wars tomorrow?
I am a little bit.
You weren't
Now that it's been
before.
100% spoiled by Theo on
Theo.
Twitter. I can't help it. I'm like, oh, I'll see what's going on Twitter. Oh, that's what's going on Twitter. Theo ruining Star Wars. Just kidding. He never even mentioned the movie by name, and he just kind of talked
Don't
about
even say another word, Lyndon.
He discussed the critical reviews in a
Okay.
tweet without naming the movie. But we all knew what...
Reviews.
Like, the critics have already seen it. You've spoiled the movie.
I'm excited. It'll be a good film. I'm quite excited for it.
I'm excited to go home and watch the latest episode of Baby Yoda.
I can't believe it's out.
Yeah. Here you are, so sad about the church's, pseudo-deception of its finances.
I don't care.
But you live in the day and age where you get to go home and watch little Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
And all his little deeds.
I'm excited. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Final thoughts. Listen, Lyndon, I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
I talked you off the ledge.
You talked me off the ledge. I'm fully on board with everything the church is doing with their money. And I just pray that when the second coming comes, those funds will be put to and I know that they will be put to the good use that they're intended for, which will be buying armaments and stockpiling missiles and weaponry.
Yeah, you might be, an Armageddon army drone captain.
Oh,
and you're going to
cool.
be like, oh, thank goodness we have all these anti-demon tipped missiles that are super expensive that we've been saving up for this whole time. And then you'll be like, I was such a fool to question.
Such a fool.
And you're like, but now I'm a faithful, unmanned drone demon slayer. Man, what if Armageddon is like the video game Doom?
That'd be sweet.
We're just all running around in powered armor, destroying hell's demons.
We'll be glad we had that $100 billion then
To pay for all the mech suits.
to pay for all the... And you better believe they would only let Temple Recommend holders drive those things.
It makes sense.
Or just the young people they are willing to let die in war. Oh no! All right, Linda, take us back up from the nosedive and send us off in a nice way.
Hey, take your money, invest it wisely, make a budget, track your expenses, because life's a mission.
Bye.